Okay, guys, we're back on the Bar Stories Project. Welcome, everybody. And I'm so excited to have our special guest today, Lauren Sanchez, back on the show after being our top rated episode of all time. So I'm sure the fans are out there excited to have Lauren back. But another special guest, our guest today, guest of honor, Espy Franco, Esperanza Franco. Welcome to the show, Espy.
Thank you.
You're an immigration attorney and emotional intelligence and mindfulness educator, and we definitely want to get into that. You went to University of Arizona, got your JD, also my alma mater, LLM from University of Pennsylvania, correct?
Yeah.
Am I missing any educational background?
No, I also went to law school in Spain because I'm originally from the Canary Islands. So in Spain, you go to law school, but it's like the equivalent of college because we don't do the college and then law school. So
Okay, so that's like the equivalent of your undergraduate degree. No, that makes sense.
So you did law school twice, basically?
kind of. I mean, the system here, it's a civil law system, so it's different. But yeah, you could say I've been studying law forever.
You actually went through the same sort of nightmare that Lauren and I and all of my other guests have went through, which is finding out that you didn't pass the bar exam. So we kind of want to walk through that timeline. When did you take your first bar exam, and what was that like finding out that you didn't pass?
Yeah. So I took the bar July 2017, if I'm not told, and I've forgotten the exact date. But just after I graduated, and I remember the summer being a really hard summer because I was also looking for a job, and I felt like I didn't have enough organization, and it just felt like I hadn't taken a break because I also did my JD in 2 years as part of the international JD program. So I remember it as a really, really horrible time, to be honest. I remember procrastinating a lot, not wanting to do practice exams, which later I realized, had really hurt me. And I guess in my mind, I was just kind of like, oh, I was a member of the law review, so I should probably be okay. And, I just became overconfident. And yeah, so I took it. I'm generally a very positive person and I'm really spiritual as well. So I just went there and, I was happy to take it. And I was like, kind of really excited that I was actually undergoing that process, because I think we have to give ourselves credit to undergo that process because it's a really stressful one. So then I started working as an immigration attorney at a nonprofit in Tucson. So I was like driving to the detention centers and just doing a lot of asylum work. And suddenly, I can't remember the exact day in October, but I just remember looking at the results, and it was like, it actually, like, I think about it and my body like reacts,
Yeah.
It was such a feeling of just like really deep unworthiness, feeling like a complete failure, feeling like I wasn't worth anything, like my loss, like the law school hadn't mattered at all. That exam meant that I wasn't smart, so it was just a mix of really intense emotions. And yeah, I mean, if you want me to keep going, but that was like the first phase.
Yeah. So I know that feeling. I know Lauren knows that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Where were you when you got your results, or when you found your results out?
I was at home in Tucson.
Okay. Yeah, I was working, so it kind of made it difficult. And yeah, I just totally relate to that feeling. I think everybody can, Lauren.
I think, like you said, like everyone still, if you talk about that feeling when you didn't pass, like you still, like you feel that pit in your stomach still, you feel that like physical reaction to it still.
Yeah, I think I thought that it wouldn't matter that much because I wasn't on law review. I wasn't a stellar law student. I tried really hard, and that's the only way I got through. So I was like, it might not work out for me, but that's okay. But when it happened, it was hard to deal with, and I felt all those feelings of doubt and thinking that I wasn't good enough, and maybe I'll never pass this thing, and maybe it's not for me. But those feelings were were wrong. So how did you what was the approach when you decided to take it again and go for it?
Yeah, so I remember having a week off, really just processing emotionally, and I was kind of in shock in terms of like, what am I gonna do now? Like, what does this mean? And it was like a really hard week too, because I think when you find out, it completely obviously crushes you, but you even doubt your intelligence as a lawyer, which is bullshit because we know that the exam doesn't determine that. But you know, I remember feeling like that for a week, and then I was kind of like in mode of like, okay, like I am going to pass the second time, like I have to figure it out. So I had like a two-step process. First, I thought I'm gonna hire like a coach or a mentor, because I had heard of other people hiring one and having like a really good experience. So I started asking around and just like Googling people. And then the other thing that I had to think about was like, how do I tell my employer that I need some time to study for the bar? So, you know, the first thing I did was to find a bar tutor whose name is Mary Goza, whom I love. She's like the best tutor. I mean, I completely and totally recommend her in like so many different ways. So I was very lucky to found her and I think actually it was someone at the law school who recommended her. So after that, I remember feeling really, really stressed out about, okay, how do I tell my employer that I need time off? Because I was actually, my work was so draining just because I had to drive to this detention centers and I was dealing with trauma survivors on a daily basis. Like I was emotionally drained every day. So I had to be super honest with myself and realize that I needed to take time off because the work was so emotionally taxing that I knew I wasn't going to come home and have the energy to like, you know, let me just practice multiple choice. So, you know, I'm someone who journals a lot because it's kind of my way of understanding what I'm thinking and my thought processes. So I came up with sort of a strategy to talk to my employer, you know, to kind of state my needs and do it in a kind of like empathetic way too, because obviously like the fact that I would leave for I think I took like a month and a half off. The fact that I was going to leave, it was going to be huge for the team because I mean there were so many immigrants crossing the border at that point, so it was like everything was crazy. We had like so much work, so I also felt really guilty for having to leave my colleagues with all of the caseload. So after I kind of identify the strategy and what to say, you know, went to work, talked to my boss, and she was actually really compassionate and understanding. And she was like, yeah, you know, do what you got to do. And, you know, if you need this time, you take it. And obviously I was very lucky because I know not everyone has, you know, that privilege. So yeah, that's how I kind of positioned myself afterwards. I was in mode, I was like, okay, I'm feeling really bad inside and I kind of want to die inside, but I have to push through and I have to try another time and warrior up like however I can.
So Lauren, you talked about journaling as a strategy of, you know, helping yourself through that tough time of failing the bars.
I mean, for me, I think it was more finding a way to feel like a person. And I don't know if Espy, if you felt the same way, if it was something, have you always journaled or was it something that like you kind of came to once you were in this point?
I've always journaled. I love writing. So this is something I generally use for myself.
Do you think that it's something that helped you moving forward? Do you think like, had you not had that already in you, do you think you would have struggled with getting past it a little more?
I think probably like I think after you find out, you have to talk it out, whether it's through writing, talking to someone, talking to a therapist. I mean, it's a lot. It's like I think it's a huge deal because you have been working for so long. We're talking about a huge investment, right? Money, emotional, like physical. And suddenly, you know, you find out that an institution is not going to let you practice. It's a lot. I mean,
I like what you mentioned about there were a lot of sort of obligations and responsibilities that you had um, going into your first bar exam, and I think a lot of students here, because I'm back at the law school doing my LLM, and of course a lot of them are taking the bar soon, and a lot of them come talk to me about, they know my experience having taken it 3 times. And what I find difficult is that there's not just one thing that led to an outcome of being unsuccessful. It's a multitude of factors, and it's hard to put your finger on, like, why did I fail? Like, I'm not gonna blame my bar prep company. The same people took the bar prep company that I took and passed, because I really wasn't sure. So I'm curious if you were able to pinpoint where after seeing your data, where you needed to sort of make up the ground.
I think I was, because I knew that my study process hadn't been good enough throughout the summer. I mean, I knew that I had struggled a lot mentally and emotionally. I mean, I was completely burnt out before I started studying for the bar exam, and I wish I would have taken a break, and but because of my immigration situation and the time was running out, I couldn't. Like, it was kind of, I just had to take that one. So I remember kind of knowing, when I found out, like, knowing that I hadn't done enough practice exams, knowing that I had procrastinated some of the exercises, and also knowing that, like, as a non-English speaker, I had other obstacles to kind of deal with, and maybe I should have taken them into account. Maybe I should have kind of designed a different program for myself, which would have probably included having a coach. So I also hadn't taken, standardized tests. So because in Spain also it's a different system, everything is memory. And this exam, the bar exam, has just like a lot of components that are designed to filter, right? Like, for example, the 25 questions that they have to try out, like, they're so weird that they're trying out, they're so weird, just to like completely throw you off. But so it's just like, I think it's an exam about mental fortitude. So I knew right then that, okay, like, I need someone to guide me. Like, I need someone to really analyze with me what my errors were, and like, because I know there was a pattern somewhere. So I kind of I kind of took full responsibility from the beginning. Like, I didn't even blame, I blamed myself, in the sense, like, I knew that I had gotten my own way and I had sabotaged myself.
So since you were you came in with English being as your second language, is there anything for future bar takers who aren't English natives that you would 100% suggest?
I would suggest a bar tutor, or a mentor, or someone who allows you to be more accountable. And I really suggest doing a lot of multiple choice, just because generally I feel like in the US, it's where you find most standardized sets. You've been doing it forever, since, after you're done with high school. So I think that having someone to guide you a little bit and keep you accountable, especially, is something that I recommend, because I don't think that it matters that your English, might not be as good as a native speaker. Obviously, like, I probably made a mistake during this recording. So I think that that's not the issue. And also that's a false narrative that is very self-sabotaging, to think that you're less because your English is not as good. No, I think that you can pass it. I just think that because you have that extra obstacle, it really helps to have someone there kind of like coaching you and reminding you that your intelligence is the same as,
everyone else. I really think that's something that shows, though, like, the bar is such a be a sheep thing. Like, if you follow the way they want things, it doesn't matter if you can speak English. It doesn't matter if you know the material backward and forward. You have to know it their way.
Yeah, that's what I learned too. Throughout the coaching experience. It's like, okay, like, how do I fit into this box that they want me to fix in, right? Like, and at first I was really upset, to be honest, But I was like, okay, I'll just get to play the freaking game.
Yeah, it really is. It's just a game.
Yeah.
Just a big game of chess. I just explained that to somebody. It's like, you can understand how the chess pieces move, but if you don't understand the strategy to win, that knowledge of how this piece moves and that piece moves, it doesn't fit together. Honestly, like, I really approached it that way, where I'm like, now I know how to play this game to win. I took it 3 times. The first 2 times that I failed, my feeling, my demeanor going in was the same. It was like a lot of anxiety, a lot of doubt, a lot of basically, to sum it up, it was like, we'll see how this goes. The third time, it wasn't like I was super confident, but I felt different. I was calm and I was like, let's go. I'm wondering, the second time you took it, whether you felt differently.
Yeah, I think I really worried up. I was like, let's fucking do this. Like, I was like, I'm gonna fucking pass this shit. Like, there's no other way. And I really remember I was studying, I started boxing too, which I also recommend, like, doing like intense exercise, because you're studying so much and like you have so much stress that it really helps to kind of like have that outlet. And I remember it as being like a really empowering time, obviously, I had some days where I was like, oh my God, what if I fail, and having nightmares that, I would be naked in the exam, or like I would forget everything, and just like typical nightmares. But I remember feeling like, okay, I can do this. And I think that's why it's so important sometimes, at least it was for me, to have someone to remind me, like, look, this is just a game, but this is how you play the game. Like, this game does not determine your worth or your intelligence or your value as an attorney. It's just a game, and it's assigned to filter. Only 50% is going to pass. It doesn't mean that, you're not going to be a good attorney. And I do have to say that something that I kind of used as like my little, I don't know how to say this in English. The Spanish word is like amuleto, like kind of like a spiritual reminder that I knew that the exam didn't determine my worth as an attorney, because like just right before I took time off, I had done an appeal for a client who was detained, and I won it. So I knew at that moment, like, I failed the bar, but clearly I am getting the job done and I'm like helping people. So can someone tell me? So I think that was, like a little piece of like the universe saying to me, just play the freaking game so that we can keep doing this, like it was kind of like that reminder.
But I actually had a student here who's taking the bar next week, Natalie. Good luck, Natalie. She actually gave me some feedback about the show, and she said, I really love when the guests talk about the day that they find out that they passed after they had experienced failing. So if you could walk us through that day and tell us what that was like.
Yes, I actually took that day off on purpose, because I was like, okay, if I fail, I don't want to be at work. Like, I want to be by myself, be able to process that, be able to cry. And if I pass, well, I might as well just like enjoy myself. So I remember I was like in my room, and I tried to turn my phone off, because you know how people would like message you, and people who were looking at the results and stuff. And I actually found out through a text message from someone. So
spoiler alert.
It's a beautiful thing, to be honest, because it's like, obviously if it says congratulations, that must be like a good sign, right? So, then I looked at the list, and yeah, it was just like this feeling of, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, I just like emailed, or I can't remember if I called my bar tutor to be like, I passed. And telling my parents who had done like a huge freaking sacrifice for me, like to study in the US, and they were kind of like my cheerleaders. So yeah, I also remember having to go. I was like having really bad allergies because there was a moment in Tucson where it was insane. So I went to the doctor, and I remember being like, I passed the bar today, like just sitting over there, and like they were putting all of these things on my arm, and I was like, yes, I passed the bar today. And I also remember putting a hat on, and I went to say hi to my coworkers who were like really, kind of waiting for the results, and just like hugging them, and they were like super, happy for me. And yeah, man, it was just like an amazing day. It really was.
Definitely different than the last time when you got those results.
So I forgot to mention, when I didn't pass, I remember the anxiety here, like it was over here, of like not seeing my name. Like I remember that feeling of like, I'm not, like, where is it? Like, I'm not here. It was, that was just like,
it's like looking at your graduation program, except your name's not on it because all your classmates are on there, and you're like, oh yeah, I know that person. But Lauren's list was in California initially, right? You guys have to log in and you only see your results or something like that.
Yeah, so the first day it's only your results that are available. You can log in as like an applicant portal, but you don't see everyone else until the next day. Then the list, or like that Sunday, the list, like we get results Friday, and then that Sunday it's like public, like whole list, like the way yours is.
Yeah, it's tough when I got so used to seeing my name not on it, and then when I saw my name, I didn't know what to do. Like I just really didn't know how to. I'm like, why is that there? Is that a mistake?
It's my name.
That's the right spelling, right?
Yeah. No one talks about it, and there's this like expectation that you need to be perfect, and this illusion that everyone has everything to, has everything together, and like, I'm networking and I need to look perfect for employers. I think that atmosphere creates this like almost like fear to really express how you're feeling, right? And just really be honest and authentic about how you're feeling. And then you get trapped into this lawyer persona that it's a machine and that doesn't have any emotions because they're seen as a weakness. And we have lawyers who like are literally wearing this suit or mask for years and years, and then it somatizes, or it shows up with like alcoholism or drug abuse or all of these things. So I think it's really important, and something that I really emphasize with my law students is that do not believe this false narratives that law school will teach you. Like, law school does not define you. It's literally a game. It's like the Hunger Games. You just sign up for that and you have to do it for 3 years and then you leave, and really being aware of this narratives of like, imposter syndrome and like, I'm not smart enough, being aware that these are not true. I think it's really powerful for people, because at least when they come up, yes, I'm not going to say that you're not going to feel anxiety when you're in law school, because you probably will. But at least that what you're thinking is not true. And I think that can be really empowering for people to kind of just like keep going.
I really like that line that you said, that the suit can be a mask. I'm like, that's so true. I mean, when you go to court, it's like, you see all these polished, and I even look like that when I dress up for court, and I'm like, that's not who I am. And I think I've embraced that, where I've had some really, like, I'd say personal conversations with a lot of attorneys and judges, and I realized that like, we can just be honest with each other. We don't have to worry about, I have to speak with this perfect diction and articulation. Like, no, we cuss, we talk shit, and it's like, that's just us. We're opening up to each other, and we're not just gonna hide behind the mask. The suit is not who we are.
Yeah, you put that suit on, you walk up and like, oh look, I'll pretend like I know what I'm doing, and you'll all believe me because I'm in a suit.
Any closing thoughts to our students that are taking the bar either next week or in a couple months here?
I am going to say what I just told one of my friends who's also taking the bar next week. So the bar exam is a mental fortitude exam. It's it has nothing to do with your real intelligence. And I think the best advice that someone has given me has been just accept the fact that you're not going to know the answer to most of the questions. Like, you need to understand that what you have to do is just like keep going to the next question. Don't look for that confidence and like, oh, I feel 100% sure about all of the answers, because very few people have that feeling, and it's okay, and it doesn't mean anything if you don't have it. I just think that the hardest part is just like keep going. One question, you're not really sure, it's okay. Like, what do you think, which one do you think is the best answer, and you just keep going. I feel like it's an exam of just like constantly beating that inner critic and that fear inside of your mind. To me, that's what it was, just like conquering that. And once you're there, your energy levels are already so high that you're like you can do it. It's more about not pausing and start a cycle of like, oh my god, I don't know this answer, oh my god, like this one. No, you don't have time for that.
Espy Franco, thank you so much for joining us today. I feel like this is going to be so helpful to our students, our viewers. We're going to put some links to your website, to your masterclass, to all of your stuff in the descriptions to go check it out. Everybody out there, thanks to our special guest Lauren Sanchez for joining us today. Espy Franco is here, guys. See you in the next episode. Stay safe as always, stay cool, and we're here for you.
Good luck to the bar takers.
Good luck, everybody. We're gonna put this out fast as we can so that we can get the message out there to the people that need it. We'll see you next episode, guys. Thanks for joining us.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Bar Stories Project's YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any new content. The Bar Stories Project is brought to you by creator and executive producer Chuck Bonaza, associate producer Patrick Ryan, original music by Justin St. John and Christian Savage. Join us next time on the Bar Stories Project.